games understand the human condition. They build stories around pain, loss, and the moments that change a person. They present these moments in ways that help us connect to the characters. The choices those characters make after being hurt create the emotional gravity that pulls us into their world, and you vibrate on the same frequencies as those characters. There's something awfully interesting and powerful about watching a character suffer, fall apart, and then rise, by choosing what to do with the pieces that they have left. This makes them memorable. In stories, these changes create what some writers call a narrative necessity. Tragedy, especially ones that turn saints into the sea, give characters depth and motives that come from something more internal than simple desire or ambition. Not that there is anything wrong in simplicity, but more often than not, more effectively than not, suffering shapes the lens through which characters interpret threats, relationships, and decisions. Personally, I love my wife. A lot of my growth as a man came from the internal problems that I had to work through, and she helped me through it. This is why we connect with hurt and damaged characters, because their pain mirrors patterns that we recognize within ourselves and others. We unconsciously get that they're not just severely depressed or vehemently enraged, they're changed, and that shift drives every frame of their story. Six's arc of Little Nightmares shows the darker side of how trauma can fundamentally rewrite who you are, transforming survival into something monstrous. When we first meet her, we know nothing, or next to nothing about her. She's just trying to survive the nightmare realm. She's navigating a world designed to make her feel powerless, and I do mean designed. Every environment in the nowhere towers over you. Adults are grotesque giants with distorted proportions and insatiable hungers. Every corner is a threat to her. It is a perfect recreation of how children experience genuine fear and how they perceive peril. She starts out by running and then hiding, but then over time, she consumes others in more ways than one. And then, something changes. In the latter half of the first game, Six starts experiencing hunger. Except it's not just any kind of normal hunger. Oh no, this is something far deeper and more brutal. At first she eats normal food, but then the hunger grows almost demonic, otherworldly. She starts to lose sense of who she is. She begins to eat rats, and then eventually a living gnome, a previous child, and then she eats the lady, gaining her dark powers. She has adopted the characteristics of those who have hurt her. But also, if you have played very Little Nightmares, you gather she might have learned some of these traits from the girl in the red scarf. Only the strong survive. One could see this as a good thing, and it would be valid. But when you see how she has become conditioned to treating others around her like mono, you realize that trauma is a double-edged sword. However, what I also want you to do is not look at this through a sense of morality, whether it's good or bad. That doesn't really apply here and is not the focus of this discussion. The idea is, we find her compelling in these tiny glimpses of her. We feel angry for her betrayal, but ultimately, unless you're a surface-level person, you understand somewhat where her actions stem from. It does not exonerate her, but she's still a kid, one that we can lament for, the death of a child. Six has internalized the logic of the nightmare so completely that she has become indistinguishable from it. She became one of the nightmares. Makes for a memorable story.
Come now, Alice. It's only a dream.
It's not a dream, it's a memory. And it makes me sick.
We know Alice. We love Alice. We hate EA for killing the third game, but we love Alice and her adventures. One of the things that I love the most about this story is how even though it hides behind magical perspectives, the game pretty much doesn't hide what it's about. From the opening moments, we know that Alice is damaged. She witnessed her entire family burn to death in a house fire when she was just a kid. As a result, she spent years in psychiatric institutions. And from that point, Wonderland, the surreal place that she keeps returning to, is a manifestation of her fractured psyche. But the game presents Wonderland as a corrupted version of Lewis Carroll's whimsical realm, a place where everything is beautiful but has been twisted into something grotesque. Alice's Wonderland is her trauma made visible. Every enemy she fights and every location she pierces through represents an aspect of her guilt, her rage, her inability to accept what happened. The chaos further demented by unknown external forces. As the story unfolds, we start to uncover that healing here is mostly about, in some way, finding integration. Don't forget your traumas. Make them a part of you. Absorb them as they have absorbed you. Throughout the game, Alice collects memories, literal fragments of her past, pieces of the night her family died. She hunts for her memories and bravely forces herself to look at the truth piece by piece, memory by memory. And as she does, Wonderland begins to change. Alice's world will never be the happy and innocent place it was before the fire. But it is from those ashes of captivity that she is reborn to rebuild her life into something that she can now navigate, something that she can accept. But the truth is, even if it is hard to hear, even though none of us want to go through what she experienced, without that tragic and painful past, Alice would have had no reason to break free from the grip of a trauma that wouldn't exist otherwise. In essence, there would be no story. She might not have become strong enough to fend off the men who tried to take advantage of her, but she did get stronger, and in effect, she saves countless lives of future children who Bumby would have taken advantage of. The trauma works as a bridge between the beginning of her story and the end, where she doesn't exactly come out fixed, but rather living with a pain that has been recontextualized, a pain that is worth fighting for. Many people, victims of CPTSD or abuse, resonate with this character because she represents hope. Even if she isn't real, her story is, and it is insightfully inspiring, helping those who suffer understand that resilience is rewarded, that you can blaze your own path and conquer those that would have kept you down. I'm reminded of a scene from Game of Thrones where Sansa says more or less that without everything she went through, she would have stayed a naive, helpless girl forever. As you can imagine, it was a pretty controversial line at the time because many saw it as thanking her abusers. But what she really meant was that yes, it was awful, and it was rough, and it was terrible, and yet it was a profoundly powerful scene because it was actually about how those terrible things shaped who she was now. Again, the narrative, whether good or bad, isn't what we're analyzing here. What we are looking at is the fact that Sansa becomes a stronger counterpart to the little girl that she was at the start of the show. Her character arc is one that many, including my wife, loved.
What are you doing, kiddo?
I'm gonna find and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
Joel is another character created by trauma. His experiences with loss influence him in a different direction than characters like Alice or Six. His trauma grows out of losing his daughter.
Sarah! Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know. Listen to me, I know this hurts. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. All right, I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby, I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby, I know. Sarah.
That moment wipes out his very being. Then the apocalypse happens. He's seen the worst in humanity, and in fact, the man has been forced, just like Six, to become the worst of humanity. As a result, Joel pulls away from people. He avoids emotional closeness, putting a limiter on what he allows himself to feel because he expects that at any moment, any meaningful thing in his life will be taken from him. Ellie's arrival forces the sections of him that were demolished to shift back into place. He starts to rebuild the parts of himself that were shut down. His relationship with her is the slow return of purpose and the cautious attempt to trust his own role in somebody else's life. As Joel travels with Ellie, the trauma he carries changes into a new form. He starts to notice similarities between Ellie and the daughter that he lost. This creates a steady conflict inside of him. His visceral need to protect her grows stronger with every challenge they face, and the fear of losing her grows alongside it. Joel leans into strict protection and close monitoring because control gives him a sense of stability. Plus, remember, he is terrified of, in a way, losing his daughter again. So he teaches Ellie practical skills because he believes survival depends on them. And I would push it even further to say that those lessons give him a role that he understands and sorely misses. When he learns that the Fireflies plan to operate on Ellie to find out why she is immune to the infection, the fear of another loss becomes more powerful than any other part of him. His choice grows out of that emotional wound, and it defines his ultimate choice. Whether you agree or disagree, you remember Joel, you remember their journey, and you feel as he does. You understand his desire to choose his daughter over the world. God of War tackles something even more complex: how trauma can be confronted, processed, and then transformed across an immortal lifetime. How that transformation can break cycles that seem unbreakable. But to understand Kratos' character arc, we need to understand who he was. Because 2018's God of War isn't the actual beginning of his story. The Greek mythology games showed us Kratos at his most broken, a Spartan warrior who was manipulated by Ares into killing his own wife and daughter in a blood rage. If it were my wife, I would have that valid crash out too. I'd hate the hell out of myself. But the gods would have their reckoning first. It is that single traumatizing event where his whole personality collapsed and imploded. He becomes pure rage, vengeance, destruction, and soon he killed Ares. But he didn't stop there, because then he would kill all the other gods, all of them. He destroyed the entire Greek pantheon and brought upon the apocalypse for the entire world. He'd become a monster, a god, a force of pure destruction driven by anger and regret. But then something happened. Between the end of the Greek saga and the start of the Norse one, Kratos met Faye. He falls in love, becomes a father once more to Atreus. He grew. For me, this evolution from hateful, unstoppable monster to a father learning how to love and guide his son was something that I immediately loved.
Atreus, you are getting better. Faster.
I'd even be better than you one day, huh?
If you are not, I have failed.
This is one of those moments that stood out to me because it shows Kratos breaking the cycle. We see that Kratos is healing, becoming more conscious of his patterns, his dangers, knowing that his son is watching. And it is in his active choices to respond and behave differently, leading by example for Atreus, that we see Kratos accept his sufferings and become wiser from them. He forgives himself, and in that, he can now save his son from walking down a path he will surely regret. He is more damaged at the end, having confronted his past fully. But he is also whole, no longer split between monster and father, no longer overtaken by the fears of his past and the future foundation that he wants to be. He has integrated both. He's the man who destroyed Olympus, but also the man who teaches his son kindness. Kratos has evolved through conscious choice and painful honesty. His trauma becomes his wisdom, and now he can guide Atreus through darkness because he knows darkness. He's been friends with that void many lifetimes. He can teach restraint because he's experienced the alternative. Kratos proves you can be profoundly broken, destroyed, and still be a good parent. The daily choice to be better than your pain is what breaks the unbreakable cycles. This is the reason you love broken characters, because you yourself are a little broken. But it feels good to be related to, and even to see these characters rise from the ashes of destruction because in some way you've done the same, or at least hope to one day.